She had been invisible for years, walking the same halls, serving the same people, always polite, always quiet. Nobody imagined the truth. She carried her power, her ownership hidden beneath the janitor's uniform. 15 years of unnoticed labor, endless disrespect and silent endurance, and then in a single moment everything changed. The very people who dismissed her, mocked her and underestimated her were about to face a shock they would never forget. How does someone who's been overlooked for so long turn the tables in a world that refuses to see them? The answer will leave you speechless. For 15 years she had moved through life like a shadow. Every morning she arrived before the sun rose, sweeping floors, emptying trash and polishing surfaces that gleamed under fluorescent lights. Her uniform was simple, her smile quiet, her presence almost invisible. At work the whispers and sideways glances reminded her daily of where she belonged. In the eyes of others she wasn't just overlooked, she was underestimated, dismissed and treated as if her dreams and ideas mattered less than the dust she swept outside the office. Her life was ordinary but filled with small joys: a morning coffee, a call to a friend, a moment of peace in a hectic world. Yet beneath this calm a secret burned quietly, something no one suspected about the woman. They assumed they knew, something that would turn years of mockery and disregard into a moment of shocking reckoning. And as the workday began, nobody, not even her closest colleagues, could imagine the storm about to break. Day after day she moved through the office unnoticed yet painfully aware of every slight. The CEO walked past her without acknowledgement, nodding only to the higher-ranking staff, a dismissive smile reserved for her at best. Colleagues whispered jokes behind her back, jokes that cut deeper than any words they might have spoken to her face. She cleaned conference rooms where major decisions were made, offices where promotions were handed out, yet no one imagined she had a claim to the very empire they served. Each insult, each overlooked effort piled on silently, forming a weight she carried alone. The injustice wasn't subtle, it was systemic. Her ideas had been ignored for years, opportunities denied simply because of how she was perceived. Even clients, unaware of her intelligence and expertise, dismissed her with casual bias. At lunch she sat at the same small table in the break room, watching managers gossip, laugh and plan a future that felt completely out of reach. The anger bubbled beneath her calm exterior, a slow-burning fire of frustration and determination. She had endured, learned and observed every weakness in the company's structure, every habit that revealed arrogance and ignorance, but there was more to her silence than mere patience. She had been playing a long game, a secret strategy built in the shadows. For years she had quietly invested, built her stake and gained the power no one suspected. She walked past the office where the CEO held meetings, imagining the moment when those years of disrespect, condescension and racial prejudice would collide with the truth. The thought alone sent a thrill coursing through her veins, a mixture of fear and anticipation. Then came the day that changed everything. A minor mistake, or so it seemed, unraveled in front of the executive board. The CEO, known for his arrogance and impatience, lashed out in a way that left the room stunned. His voice echoed sharp and unrestrained, accusing, berating, humiliating her in front of colleagues who had long underestimated her. Eyes widened, whispers filled the space, and the tension was almost unbearable. And yet in the midst of the chaos she stayed calm, a quiet storm gathering beneath her composed exterior. Every eye in the room fixed on her, expecting compliance, expecting fear, but she had been planning this for years, her patience and endurance about to pay off in a way no one could anticipate. The CEO's arrogance had blinded him, his prejudice had left him vulnerable. The room was ripe for a revelation, and she was ready to make history. Just as the tension reached its peak she stepped forward, and the world seemed to pause. Would anyone believe it? Could she truly overturn years of underestimation and disrespect in one decisive move? The next few moments would not only shock the office, they would expose the deeper injustices that had allowed this imbalance of power to persist for far too long. The boardroom fell silent as she finally stepped forward, her presence commanding a room that had long ignored her. The CEO's voice, still sharp with anger from his earlier outburst, faltered as he noticed her approach. Eyes narrowed, he demanded to know what she was doing, expecting hesitation, expecting fear, but there was none, only a calm intensity that made the room tremble with anticipation. In one swift motion she revealed the truth, the legal documents proving she owned the company, the proof of her silent investments over the past 15 years, the authority that no one had imagined she could wield. Gasps echoed through the room, colleagues froze, their disbelief palpable. The CEO's face drained of color, his arrogance shattered in an instant. The man who had dismissed her, mocked her and wielded his power without consequence was now standing in the shadow of someone he had underestimated. Her revelation was not just personal victory, it was a confrontation with every microaggression, every act of discrimination, every moment of dismissal she had endured. The humiliation of the powerful was complete, and yet there was a strange tense silence that lingered in the air. It wasn't anger she felt, it was vindication, a quiet justice that years of suffering could finally validate. The room buzzed with disbelief and awkward murmurs, questions flew, voices stumbled, but she remained composed, the quiet architect of her own destiny. 15 years of invisibility, of How blind had they been to the truth that was right in front of them all along. In that instant she wasn't just a janitor anymore, she was the force no one saw coming, the embodiment of resilient strategy and undeniable power, and the world for a fleeting moment finally had to reckon with it. The room slowly regained its rhythm, but nothing would ever be the same. Colleagues whispered in disbelief. The CEO sat stunned, and she finally allowed herself a quiet breath. 15 years of being dismissed, overlooked and underestimated had culminated in a single undeniable moment of justice. It wasn't revenge, it was recognition, the acknowledgement that her worth had never been defined by the color of her skin, her job title, or the assumptions of others outside the boardroom. She walked through the office with a sense of calm that was entirely new. People stared, some with shame, some with admiration, but she no longer needed their approval. The truth she had carried silently for so long was now undeniable. Her patience, her intelligence, and her resilience had created a power that no prejudice could erase. Yet her story is bigger than one company or one CEO. It is a reflection of countless people who endure systemic bias, microaggressions, and societal underestimation every single day. It reminds us that talent and determination are often invisible to those blinded by prejudice, but perseverance and strategy can turn invisibility into strength. As she stepped out of the office that day, the world outside felt different, not because it had changed but because she had. The question lingers: how many others are quietly building their own power while the world underestimates them? How long will society continue to ignore those whose voices and abilities have been marginalized for far too long? Her story is a testament to resilient strategy and the quiet revolution that begins when injustice meets determination. It challenges us to reflect, to act, and to ensure that no one is dismissed because of who they are. Sometimes the most powerful forces are the ones you never see coming.